background check for nursing. So in this video we're going to go over local state and county resources available to the public to do background checks. I'm going to go over some of the essential record types to consider, and specifically for this video I'll go over resources for nurses at the state level. I'm going to pick the state of Maryland for this example. Most states will have a very similar process, so you can follow along. I just need to use a state here for an example. So when it comes to background check, you have your essentials, you have your court records, recorder's office, criminal records, driving records, business lookup, incarceration records, sexual offender registry. And then for example, if sometimes a state will offer a statewide database for court records, sometimes they won't. And in that case, you'd have to go and research things at the county level. So we have the most populous counties here too. Also, prison records, there's a centralized database, but jail is a little different. So if you want to look at jail records, you'd have to go to like a local police or a sheriff's department, and they have their own databases which are accessed at the county level. And another thing to consider specifically when it comes to nursing is you could just Google nursing license, look up your state, so Maryland in this situation, and states will have a centralized database where you can research professional licenses. So if anybody holds a license, you're able to look it up to make sure there's no issues there. One thing to consider is people do travel from state to state, so if it's possible to know which previous states somebody has resided in, it's a good idea to look up all these states and make sure there's no issues in any of those other states. So that's something to keep in mind. Don't necessarily just focus on one state. Kind of look into that a little bit more. States will also have instructions specifically on how nurses can do background checks, and you could just type Google my state nursing background check and look for domains that end with like a .gov. Nobody else other than official government agencies can have a domain name that ends with like a .gov. So if you see that, it's an official resource, and they will provide instructions on how to go about doing a criminal history check. And a lot of times what they're going to be doing is using the state, in this example, Public Safety of Corrections and Services for Maryland, and they have options for employment purposes. They have options for out-of-state background checks. You can do fingerprint-based checks. So each state will have some variation of this service, and they'll give you instructions and the many different varieties of how you can perform a background check. Sometimes it's fingerprint only. Sometimes you have options like just to do a very quick name check right through their website. So it does differ from state to state. But we did the research for you, so you can come down to sheriffsdepartment.net and look at whatever states you need to look at and find these official resources at the state level, at the county level. And you can type sheriffsdepartment.net in your browser. I'm also gonna drop a link in the description, and come on down and take a look and see if you find anything helpful.